Good morning, students. Hope you understand the various institutional support for SSIs. What are the small scale industries? What are their why they are sick? What are the causes and reasons? Now we are going to discuss various incentives and subsidies. Incentives and subsidies for small scale units. SSI sector play a vital role in industrial production, employment generation and export. In this today era also you have observed that SSI play a very important role to make a economy functioning. Because of this growing domestic and international competition, the strategy of the government is to support this sector through promotional policies of the financial assistance, incentives, subsidies and technology. These incentives are the major support system to promote these small scale industries because they don't have a good financial support or good technical support. So these incentives play a vital role, and entrepreneurs need these incentives for setting up industries of their own. These incentives are also necessary for existing small industries to initiate expansion, modernization of the program. Assistance and incentives are necessary to create a market imperfection, because this create a market imperfection. Market imperfection means it make your product different. It help you to differentiate your product and services from their competitors to accelerate the process of industrialization so as to derive the force of supply and demand each of the equilibrium point. Risk of new venture in a new area can minimize with the support of these incentives and subsidies. Actually, these incentives and subsidies are the backbone for the development of the small scale industries. Now, incentives are the motivational force which encourage an entrepreneur to take a right decision to act upon it. The basic objective is to provide incentives is to motivate the entrepreneur to set up a new venture venture which are in the interest of the nation to the society as a whole. Incentives include three types: concessions, subsidies and bounties. Incentives may be a financial or non-financial. Non-financial incentive push an entrepreneur toward the decision and action. Entrepreneurs in India are offered a number of incentives. These incentives normally aim at reducing some of the problem faced by the small scale industries. Next is your concession. Concessions are relaxation in the policy and a guideline which motivate the entrepreneur to undertake a particular entrepreneur activities. They may be a monetary relief, and you can say right to enjoy certain freedoms from the restriction imposed by the government time to time. Then bounties. Bounties are denoted for a bonus or a financial aid given to industries to help it to compete with other units established in a country or in a foreign countries. Sometimes government provide you a bonus facility, then it comes under this category. Then subsidies. Subsidies is a financial assistance, or you can say a sum of money provided by the government to the industries for the welfare or interest of the public. It is a financial aid, grant or a contributions. Subsidy means a single lump sum money that is given by the government to entrepreneur to cover the cost. Now the advantage of providing incentives. Why we are giving incentives to the entrepreneur? First, the decentralization of economic power. By providing incentives, it encourages entrepreneurs to set up their industrial ventures in different locations, which help it to decentralization of the economic power in a few hands. Then balanced regional development is also possible with the help of incentives. Then because it create a development of different geographical areas, they contribute to a regional balanced development. Then transformation of technology, incentive help in transformation of the traditional technology into modern technology. Traditional technology is characterized by generally a low skill, low productivity, low management, low wages, whereas modernization technology are improved skills and highly productive, which help in raising wages, standard of living of the employees. Then overcome the difficulties. The package of incentives or concessions are given to entrepreneur to set up a unit both in a backward as well as developed districts. But generally, it given for setting up a unit in a backward area. Means in a backward area you get a more incentive as compared to your urban area. It is it is provided to offset the disadvantage prevailing in such places generally. Then it generates industrializations also. Industrial policies use incentives both to correct the market imperfection and to accelerate the process of industrialization in the country. Regional balance can also lead to effective utilization of regional resources, removal of disparity in income and in level of living, contribute to a more integrated society. Then it encourage entrepreneurship also. The new entries are there. They feel if they feel or if they face any type of difficulties and obstacles in infrastructure, in other facilities, it encourage entrepreneur to set up the new entrepreneur. Means embedding entrepreneur are motivated with the help of subsidies and all this. Then it helps to overcome a competition. Incentive helps entrepreneur to survive or to compete with the competitors. Some of the incentives are concerned with the survival and the growth of the industries. They provide various incentives which create imbalances in the economy, and these imbalances help to differentiate your product, your services from your competitors. Then we have a various advantages, but we have certain problems also with incentives and subsidies. Like entrepreneurs generally develop a bogus units to avail incentives and subsidies. In India, it is happen just to take advantage of subsidies, incentives. They set up a unit which are not so profitable, which is not needed. Incentives encourage competency in business units. They cover their inefficiency under the cover of incentives and subsidies. Incentives and subsidies encourage unviable use of resources employed by the business units. They are just drain a public fund. Then incentives and subsidies develop a favoritism and rampant the corruptions also. जो genuine people हैं उनको आप देखते होगे incentives नहीं मिल पा रहे. Incentives generally go in the hand of those have who already have a advantages. They are only getting every time incentives and subsidies, but those who are really needed, they are not. Then incentive subsidies have a demoralizing effect on other industrial unit or efficient units also, because they are not getting anything, so they demoralize them. Now the classification of assistance and incentives, and in next class we will discuss it in detail. And already we have discussed all these things in the financial or institutional support lecture also. देखिए, these are the classifications of the government assistance and government incentives. Government assistance they give in a form of technical assistance, assistance for obtaining raw material, cash assistance are they provide, supply of plant and machinery on hire purchase basis, marketing assistance they are getting, assistance to small entrepreneur, rural industrial projects, assistance they are getting. Then government incentives. Government incentives like subsidy relating to investment, export import subsidies they are getting, subsidies relating to research and development they are getting, they get subsidies in taxes and related to other resources also. Capital subsidy schemes are there to upgrade your technology. Excise duty exemptions are also there. Fine. And so this is all about today lecture. Tomorrow we will discuss the government subsidies for a small business in India by various institutions. And these already we discussed in institutional support also, but here we will cover also. Thank you, students.